My name's Leonard Andy and I'm a Djiru traditional owner, and that's the Mission Beach area. At the moment I'm standing inside the bay at Clump Point, and in the background you can see Clump Mountain. This is all our traditional country. Where I'm standing now, we used to camp in the late 60s and early 70s, and there was a road coming down here, but today it's not here. We have a fish trap 400 metres east of us, and maybe about another 400 to 500 metres on the other side of the point we have another fish trap. This used to be a high resource area because maybe 100 metres away we have an old bora ground where they used to have ceremonies, and other people would come and visit. And when they were here, normally you have to feed them if there's a couple of hundred people here, and that's why we had the fish traps. Well, now we're standing in the fish trap. It's used with the tide. Normally they make a fence on where there's a gap in the front, and the fence is laying backwards, so the tide can come in and push over it. But once the tide turns to push out, it'll stand the fence up. And they usually have men with nets at the back, or men walking around with spears, and trap the fish in. And the lower the water gets, the less room the fish have. Before this vegetation grew up, you could get a good view of Dunk Island from here. There was a village on the other side of the point, just south of the point, and that camp was kept there like nearly a permanent camp, because when people went away, they leave old people there to look after the camp and to keep it clean for when everybody comes back. And today, because of what's happened, it's a very tourist place, and not many of our people, we still come here and fish in this very spot where I'm standing, but no one camps here anymore. My parents have photos of me and my brothers here when we were about maybe 8 or 9 or 7, we were still in primary school. But down here camping, and in the ocean here in the bay, swimming. And we also have photos of our uncles here using throwing spears out in the bay in the daytime. None of that happens today here. Here at Clump Point, it's a very important place because here we only have 2 points, one at South Mission Beach and one here. And wherever there's points of land going out, on the other side is sheltered water, and you're out of the wind and everything's calm. It's like a controlled fishing and hunting area. Also the points, they serve for lookout areas for our people to look south and north. We have about maybe 2 groups south of us that belong in our language group. So most of our unwanted visitors came from further north, up past places like Mamu country, like Innisfail, but further north of there. And that's why lookouts were kept looking out for unwanted visitors. Well, at the moment the tide's in, but when it's out, this is all mud flats with boulders in it. When I was like 9 or 10, I could walk around out there, and you'd only sink maybe below your knees. Now when you walk around out there, you sink up into your waist in mud and silt. It's all built up over time. Even now when people come here, they usually throw nets for prawns. In the past you'd come here with, not everybody had crab pots. You'd use a steel hook and you'd go in the mangroves and look for holes, crab holes, and pull them out that way. Also you've got mangrove mussels, and there's a spiral cone that you eat, and whorls are really flat, like a large flat scallop. It's not attached to anything, but you find it in the mud. And usually you find it with your feet when you're walking around. But it's a nursery for fish, because around the area here, over at the jetty, they catch a lot of baby hammerheads, sharks, and they catch other little baby sharks, and they can't be coming from too far because a lot of them are like 30 centimetres. But for our people, this is still a high resource area. You get mangrove jacks, barras here. Some of my cousins and my nephews go diving inside the mangrove here on the big tides, because a lot of the time the fish are in the back of the mangrove in maybe half a metre or a metre of water. But they're not hunting or anything, they're just sitting in the back waiting for the tide to turn and change. Some of our people still collect these crabs. You walk along the beachfront, and when the wave goes back, they'll be about 3 times, 4 times larger than what it is now. And you'll see them digging down. We go and collect them to go fishing for saltwater fish. That's why a lot of the oysters here, there used to be big oysters, but we've had too many people coming here, and they don't give them a rest like a few years. They think they can come and eat all the oysters, just the big ones, and once they disappear they start to eat the smaller ones and then work their way down. And that's why you end up with places that only have little tiny oysters that no one wants to touch. Things happen really fast around here. And we've got a few other spots here in Mission Beach that are culturally important to us, the Djiru people. And we haven't really decided whether we'll inform the wider public, because once you put knowledge out there, it's out there and it has to be protected. And so we have to think of some way to protect it before we put it out there for the future and for our children and everybody's children, so they know the stories about this place.